If John McCain wins the election and he has a tax on my employer-provided health care, where will I be? Where will you be if he gets his health care program and he says, I'll give you a $5,000 tax credit for your family? But if you've got a pre-existing condition, you have to win the high-risk pool. Look around at each other. Who in here that's over 35 doesn't have a pre-existing condition that's worked in those mills and those valleys or worked anywhere? We've all got a pre-existing condition. High blood pressure, high sugar, had an operation, got some kind of bronchial problem from sucking in the shit in those mills. No, there are no good jobs in the steel mill, just going's a hard job. So he's going to tax you, then he's going to give you $5 grand for your family. He's going to put you in the high risk pool. You tell me where you can go and buy health care in a high risk pool for $5,000, and I'll tell you you're smoking better shit than you can buy in Steubenville. We're going to deal with that problem too. Go down the list. This guy was one of 5 members of the House that voted against Martin Luther King. One of 5. This is a moderate. This is the guy that voted to cut Medicare and Medicaid. He voted against the prescription drug benefit. He voted to increase Medicare age to 67. He voted no in expanding Medicare Part D. He voted no in including prescription drugs in Medicare. He voted to block a vote against an amendment that would provide temporary health insurance to retirees in our industry. You remember when we tried to get health care for these 50 bankrupt steel companies? We lost it by 1 vote. We got 59 votes. We needed 60. Guess who one of the votes against us was? McCain. John McCain. I ought to end there. I mean, so far, are we delusionary here? This guy ought not to be able to even think of winning Ohio. He ought not to get a vote in these valleys after everything that we've done. And I don't want to just be negative about John McCain. But look at, we'll talk about Barack in a minute. One of the questions that I get asked more than any, I get less of it the last few weeks, but originally just after the Republican convention. One of the questions I used to get asked all the time, wherever I'd show up, somebody stick a microphone in my nose and say, Mr. Gerard, is it true that Todd Palin's a steelworker? Sometimes I think of maybe I could lie about it. And I think better, I'd say, no, I better tell the truth. I'd say, yeah, he's a steelworker. And because he's a steelworker, when his wife didn't have a good job, they had health care. Because he's a steelworker, when his wife didn't have a good job, they had a good wage. Because he's a steelworker, he was going to have a pension that he could retire on. And if that's good enough for her to introduce her husband as a proud steelworker, then she ought to stand up and say she's proud of unions, she wants to pass the Employee Free Choice Act, she wants unions to be able to have good health care, she wants our members to have good retiree health care, and she believes in unions. But she ain't going to say that. She's going to say that. Now the other thing I've said to people when they ask me that question, if being the spouse of a steelworker qualifies you for being a heartbeat away from the presidency, we've got 800,000 qualified candidates and she ain't the best one. Now I'm just going to make one more point about McCain that I want to talk about Gerard. Look around at each other. You're either retired or damn close to it. Where you want to be. Now think about where you would be, where your grandparents would be, where your parents would be, and where you would be in 5, 10, or 15 years if you wanted to retire. If John McCain and George Bush would have succeeded in privatizing Social Security and turning it over to Wall Street. McCain voted 3 times with Bush this term, 8-year term, to privatize Social Security. Where would your grandparents and parents be today had he won? Up till 3 weeks before this collapse, he was touting that the economy was strong, and he said, no, take it from me, go look it up. Go Google McCain on this. McCain said, in his words, we ought to deregulate the healthcare market the way we did the banking community.
That's what he said.
Enough said, right? Now let's look at Barack Obama. This is the guy that's lived our life. Born to a single mom, was a dedicated hard worker, worked her way through school while she was raising him, spent time on food stamps as she was raising him, worked her way through college, became a university teacher, an anthropologist. His grandparents helped his mom. His grandparents started off poor, and they worked their way up. Barack used his hard work and his intelligence and got summer jobs and worked his way all the way to Harvard. Barack Obama was the first African American to get elected by his peers